Listen carefully. The next person who tries to hurt you is not the biggest danger in your life. The real danger is the part of you that still opens the old wound just to check if it still burns. Pain can enter once, but suffering stays only when it is fed. And most people feed it every day without even knowing it. They replay the message, they repeat the insult, they imagine the argument again. They give one moment the power to control a whole week, sometimes a whole year. But that ends here. Because once you see what is really happening, something changes. Insults start losing their teeth. Rejection starts losing its weight. Betrayal stops feeling like poison and starts looking like information. Stay with me, because this is where most people miss the truth. No one can fully steal your peace after you learn how to stop handing it over. Not with words, not with silence, not with coldness, not with leaving. What I am about to show you is not about becoming hard. It is not about acting like nothing hurts. It is about becoming so clear inside yourself that what used to shake you can no longer rule you. And once this clicks, you will never hear pain the same way again. Most people spend years trying to make the world softer. They hope people will be kinder. They wait for apologies that never come. They lie awake at night replaying old scenes, asking, why did they say that? Why did they leave? Why was I not enough? Why did I not see it sooner? Meanwhile, the other person may be sleeping in peace while you are still sitting in the fire, holding the match they dropped long ago. This is a hard truth, but it is also a freeing one. No one can keep hurting you without some level of your participation. Yes, someone can wound you. Yes, they can lie, betray, ignore, mock, abandon, accuse, or speak in a cruel way. That first hit can be real. But the second hit, the one that repeats in your head, the one that keeps their voice alive inside your nervous system, the one that turns one painful moment into a prison, is often carried by your own mind. This is not blame, this is power. Because if your mind can keep carrying it, your mind can also put it down. And do not rush past that. Sit in it. Feel how uncomfortable it is. Because the ego wants a simple enemy. It wants to point outside forever. But freedom begins the moment you ask a harder question. What am I doing with this pain right now? Am I healing it or am I feeding it? That question changes everything. What hurts you most is often not only what was said, it is what the words touched inside you. A stranger can insult one person and it rolls off like dust, but the same words can enter another person like a knife. Why? Because words only go deep when they land in a place where doubt already lives. If someone calls the sky dirty, the sky does not break. If someone calls the mountain weak, the mountain does not shrink. But if someone calls you unworthy, and some hidden part of you has feared that for years, then the word gets inside. This is why the real work is not controlling every mouth around you. That will never happen. The real work is removing the hidden agreement inside you. Look closely at the moments that cut deepest. A delayed reply is not always just a delayed reply. Sometimes it wakes up the old fear of not being chosen. Criticism is not always just feedback. Sometimes it opens the old room where you felt small and never enough. Someone leaving is not always only loss. Sometimes it wakes every old abandonment you never fully faced. This is why wise people stop asking only, who hurt me? They also ask, where did this enter me? Which old belief opened the door? Which fear answered back? Which wound said, yes, I know this pain? The moment you find the door, you stop being helpless. The next person may still knock, but the door is no longer standing open and unguarded. Do not misunderstand strength. Real strength is not becoming cold. It is not building walls so high that nothing can reach you. Many people call that healing, but it is often just fear dressed in better clothes. They stop trusting and call it maturity. They shut down their heart and call it wisdom. They avoid feeling and call it discipline. But a heart that cannot be touched is not free. It is trapped. Real strength is being able to feel deeply without becoming a servant to every feeling. The river touches the stone, but it does not become the stone. The sky holds the storm, but it does not become the storm. The mirror reflects every face, but it keeps none of them. That is the training. Let pain move through you without letting it become your identity. Anger may visit, sadness may visit, shame may visit, loneliness may visit. But you do not build a home for every visitor. The dangerous moment is when you turn a feeling into a self-definition. I feel hurt becomes I am broken. I was betrayed becomes nobody can be trusted. Someone left becomes everyone will leave. This is how one moment becomes a life sentence. The mind is loyal to whatever sentence you repeat most often. Give it a cage, and it will decorate the bars. Give it a direction, and it will start walking toward freedom. This part matters, so stay with me. Pain is part of life, but the story you build around pain will decide whether you grow or stay trapped. A lot of suffering comes from making another person's behavior the measure of your worth. Someone lies to you, and suddenly you feel less valuable. Someone fails to see your loyalty, and you begin to question your own goodness. Someone rejects you, and you act as if their blindness changed your value. But a person's inability to see you clearly does not reduce what you are. A person who cannot recognize gold does not turn gold into dust. Their lack of sight does not change the truth of what stands before them. Many people do not reject your value. They reject the responsibility of seeing clearly. They reject honesty. They reject maturity. They reject the effort of meeting you with clean hands and an open heart. And if you are sensitive, loving, and deep, you may absorb what was never yours to carry. You may take in their shame, their chaos, their fear, their confusion, and then call it your own. You may blame yourself just because you wanted peace. But compassion without boundaries becomes self-abandonment. Understanding someone is not the same as giving them access to keep wounding you. You can understand why a snake bites and still never place it against your chest. You can understand why someone is cold and still step away from the winter. This is where many people get lost. They think forgiveness means returning to the same table, reopening the same door, replying to the same message, and pretending the same blade has become a flower. No. Inner release and outer access are not the same thing. One cleans the heart, the other protects the life. Learn the difference, and your peace will stop leaking. You must also learn the difference between pain and damage. Pain says, this hurts. Damage says, this will always hurt. Pain says, I lost something. Damage says, I am lost. Pain says, someone left. Damage says, everyone will leave. Freedom begins when you interrupt that translation. One event does not get to become a prophecy unless you let your mind write it that way. So when someone speaks to you with disrespect, pause. Do not react at the speed of your wound. The wound is quick because it has had years of practice. Awareness is slower at first, but it is stronger. And even one breath can save you from hours, days, even months of unnecessary suffering. In that one breath, you can ask, is this true? Is this useful? Is this mine? Is this worth my peace? Most people do not lose their center because of what happened. They lose it because they react before they see clearly. Someone sends a cold message and they send back their dignity with it. Someone raises their voice and they hand over their calm. Someone disrespects them and they start trying to prove their worth to a person who has already shown they do not know how to give respect. But you do not need to beg a dry well for water. You do not need to plead with confusion for clarity. You do not need another person's understanding to begin healing. If your peace depends on them finally admitting what they did, then your peace is still living in their hands. Take it back, quietly, fully, without waiting for permission. Your body also remembers what your mind is trying to outgrow. This is why healing is not only a thought. You may know the truth and still feel your chest tighten when you see their name. Your stomach may twist. Your jaw may lock, your breath may become shallow. That is not weakness. That is the body trying to protect you with old instructions. So be patient with your body. Do not shame yourself for still reacting. Do not insult your own healing just because it is not instant. Sit with yourself the way you would sit beside a frightened child. Soft voice, steady breath, gentle truth. We are safe now. That moment is over. We do not live there anymore. This is how the body slowly learns what the mind already understands. Through repetition, through safety, through calm practiced again and again. Walk, stretch, breathe longer on the exhale. Place your feet on the ground. Relax your shoulders. Let your body learn that memory is not the same as danger. And here is something powerful. Every hurt contains a hidden lesson if you are willing to look at it without worshipping it. Rejection can teach self-respect. Betrayal can teach discernment. Disrespect can teach boundaries. Loneliness can teach inner companionship. Criticism can teach humility without collapse. Loss can teach impermanence. But only if you stop asking pain to be fair and start asking it to be useful. Do not waste what hurt you. Let it reveal where you were attached, where you ignored your instincts, where you abandoned yourself just to keep someone else close. Many people are not protecting their heart. They are protecting their story. The story says, I am always the one who gets hurt. I am always the one who gives too much. I am always the one who is not chosen. I am always the one people use. And even a painful story can feel safe when it is familiar. The unknown freedom feels more frightening than the known suffering. So the mind keeps choosing what confirms the old script and then calls it destiny. Break that quietly, not with a speech, not with a performance, not with a dramatic announcement. Break it in the small, private moments. When the urge comes to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, choose silence. When the urge comes to chase someone who enjoys being chased, choose stillness. When the urge comes to replay the insult for the 20th time, return to the present. This is how a new life is built, not in giant public moments, but in hidden victories no one sees. You become harder to hurt in the old way when you stop obeying every whisper inside you. A thought appears. You notice it. That means you are more than the thought. An emotion rises. You notice it. That means you are more than the emotion. A memory returns. You notice it. That means you are more than the memory. An insult echoes. You notice it. That means you are not the echo. You are the awareness hearing it. That recognition is the beginning of emotional freedom. Not the kind where life never touches you, but the kind where nothing outside you can permanently throw you out of your inner seat unless you stand up and leave it yourself. When people hurt you, they are often revealing their level of awareness, not your level of value. A person who lies is showing their relationship with truth. A person who betrays is showing what desire can make them trade away. A person who mocks is showing the poverty of their compassion. A person who disrespects boundaries is showing the disorder inside their own character. Why would you take their behavior and turn it into your identity? If a dog barks at the moon does not fall down to argue. It keeps shining. That does not mean you become passive. Peace is not weakness. Peace can say no. Peace can leave. Peace can block the number. Peace can end the conversation. Peace can report the wrongdoing. Peace can speak directly and still stay clean inside. That is the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is fast, shaky, and hungry to make the other person feel what you felt. Response is clear, steady, and rooted in truth. Before you speak from pain, ask yourself, am I trying to solve something, or am I trying to force them to carry my feeling? Am I speaking a boundary, or am I begging the same person to become someone new? These questions save years. Because many arguments are not real attempts at clarity. They are desperate attempts to get a different result from the same nature. And one of the strongest forms of freedom is this. You do not need to hate someone to leave them behind. Hate is still a rope. Anger may help you stand up, but it cannot be your permanent home. A huge part of suffering comes from outsourcing your worth. You hand pieces of yourself to other people and silently ask them to hold them with care. Then, when they drop them, you feel shattered. Take it back. Take back the peace you gave to the person who never praised you. Take back the peace you gave to the one who chose comfort over honesty. Take back the peace you gave to the friend who valued you only when you were useful. Take back the peace you gave to the crowd, the comment, the comparison, the old mistake, the old shame. Gather yourself, because no one can protect what you keep handing away without noticing. Every time you need someone's approval before you can breathe freely, you give away the key. Every time you need someone to regret losing you before you can move on, you give away the key. Every time you need someone to treat you fairly before you can treat yourself with dignity, you give away the key. So take the key back with attention. Attention is life energy. What you keep feeding grows roots. If you keep watching their life, checking their page, replaying their words, imagining their thoughts, searching for signs, you are watering the very tree you claim you want to cut down. Be honest in your practice. Do not say you want peace while feeding disturbance every single day. Remove needless contact with what keeps reopening the wound. Not because you are fragile, but because healing needs an environment. A seed does not become a tree if it is dug up every morning to see whether it has grown. Let peace grow in private before you test it in the storm. Train yourself in small moments because small moments become destiny. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Breathe. Someone speaks sharply. Breathe. The line is long. Breathe. The message is late. Breathe. The room is loud. The weather is harsh. The plan changes. Breathe. This is not minor work. This is practice. If you cannot meet ordinary irritation with awareness, how will you meet betrayal, grief, humiliation, or deep loss? The person who becomes hard to shake is trained in simple moments, long before the larger storm arrives. Pain reveals where your inner discipline is weak. That is not an insult, it is guidance. If one sentence ruins your whole day, it shows you where training is needed. If one silence makes you abandon your self-respect, it shows you where love is still missing. If one criticism makes you want to quit, it shows you where identity has become too fragile. Do not hate the mirror, use it. The deepest wound is often not only what they did, it is what you did to yourself after they did it. You ignored your own signals. You stayed when the pattern was already clear. You spoke against your own dignity. You called your intuition overthinking. You accepted crumbs and named them hope. So healing must include self-forgiveness. Not weak forgiveness that learns nothing, but honest forgiveness that says, I see where I abandoned myself because I did not yet know how to stand with myself, and I will not punish myself forever for what I had not yet learned. That is where real strength begins. There is a calmer version of you waiting underneath the habit of being hurt. This version does not chase clarity from confusing people. This version does not mistake anxiety for love or attention for care. This version does not need to win every argument or explain every choice. This version does not turn every ending into self-hatred. It watches, it learns, it chooses, it moves. And you do not meet this version through fantasy. You meet it through repeated practice, especially when no one is watching. Practice when loneliness tells you to go back to what hurt you. Practice when pride tells you to prove yourself. Practice when fear tells you to accept less. Practice when anger tells you to destroy what disappointed you. Practice when sadness tells you to disappear. You are not required to obey every inner voice just because you can hear it. Feeling something is not the same as being commanded by it. Freedom says, I feel this, but I will observe before I act. I feel hurt, but I will not hurt back just to feel powerful. I feel lonely, but I will not return to poison and call it home. I feel unseen, but I will not betray my own truth just to be chosen. This is where your life starts changing. Quietly first, then clearly, then fully. People may call the new you cold because they benefited from the old you having no boundaries. Let them. Your responsibility is not to be easy for everyone to use. Your responsibility is to stay loyal to truth, to peace, and to the deeper life inside you. And one day, almost without warning, something beautiful happens. Someone says something that once would have broken you, and now it lands differently. It still touches you, but it does not enter you. It makes a sound, but it does not become a law. You feel a small, quiet space inside, a room that was not there before. And in that room, you do not need to attack, prove, collapse, or chase. You simply see. That is the shift. Not becoming untouchable, but becoming unruled. Not never feeling pain, but no longer making pain your identity. Not needing the world to be soft because you have become clear. The world may still contain betrayal, rejection, insult, confusion, and loss. But they no longer decide how you breathe, how you walk, how you love, or how you see yourself. Closure stops being an explanation you wait for and becomes a decision you make. You stop reopening the same door to see whether the old pain is still there. You accept that what happened happened, that it changed you, that it cost you something, that it taught you something, and that you are still here, still breathing, still becoming, still able to choose. People do not hurt you because they are all powerful. They hurt you because they touch something still unseen, still unguarded, still unloved, or still unresolved. So heal the wound, guard the door, stay open, but stay clear. Let your heart remain soft without becoming naive, strong without becoming cruel, peaceful without becoming passive. And remember this line because it is the one that changes everything. No one can keep hurting you in the old way once you stop joining them against yourself.